Sirius XM NASCAR Radio.
NASCAR News now.
Zane Smith will try to make the Daytona 500 for Front Row Motorsports, and he'll also run 6 additional races for the team in 2023. He was a guest with John Roberts and Chalklin Myers on Trade Paint. Gave the boys his thoughts about trying to make the Great American Race.
There's no doubt in my mind that my stuff will race good. It's just the fact of these cars are so new to everybody, and there's a lot of unpredictable things. And so for your first lap to be your qualifying lap, better yet for the Daytona 500, is, a little nerve-wracking, a little bit. I'm looking forward to obviously qualifying, but the duels mostly, and hopefully qualifying our way in and racing on Sunday again.
Front Row Team President Jerry Freese was a guest with Dave Moody on Sirius XM Speedway. He gave an explanation on the decision to give Zane Smith the chance at the expense of Todd Gilliland's 6 races.
It really didn't have anything to do with Todd or Todd's performance, more just trying to put together the best program for Ambetter and WellCare. That was a tough pill for him to swallow, but he kind of handled it like a pro, and he's been 100% engaged and on board and working great with the new crew chief, Ryan Virginie. Todd's had a great attitude through it all, and it's just a good opportunity to get Zane some of that seat time that he wants to do and be able to measure kind of how he stacks up outside of just the one race that he did last year against the Cup competition.
This morning at 9 Eastern, Solomon Wilcots and Shane Vereen are broadcasting live from Arizona, previewing Super Bowl 57 between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. And they're going to be joined by Jets wide receiver Garrett Wilson and 49ers quarterback Trey Lance. Listen on SiriusXM NFL Radio Channel 88 and on the SXM app, included with all of our trials and popular plans. That's the Morning Drive News for Wednesday, February 8th, 2023. I'm Pete Pistone.
Now,
a power move. Battle for the lead now. Titans up in turn 3. He'll dive to the bottom. He's going for the lead. Hard, strong power move to the bottom of the racetrack.
Now, this week's edition of Pistol Pete's Power Rankings.
We are just a handful of days away from the official start of the 2023 NASCAR Cup Series season with the running of the Daytona 500. So as we get ready for a brand new year, let's take a look at the top 10 Cup organizations in this week's edition of the Power Rankings for the 2023 preseason edition. We'll start with the number 10 team, Kaulig Racing.
We've had all kinds of names for AJ. We can call him the Roval Master. He just never quits, and he's got a 5-car lead headed to the house.
Coming to the final turns, he's made the Roval his personal playground. AJ Allmendinger into the front stretch chicane for the final time. Left-hand corner, right-hand corner. He will win his 4th consecutive Drive for the Cure 250.
There was the PRN call that you heard right here on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. AJ Allmendinger picking up a checkered flag in the Xfinity Series at the Roval at Charlotte, North Carolina, a place, as Brad Gilley called it, his personal playground. Kaulig Racing this year will have, again, a foot in both the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series. AJ Allmendinger now goes full-time to the Cup Series, and he is paired up with the returning Justin Haley. So AJ Allmendinger, after doing some great things for this team in the Xfinity Series, now goes back full-time to the Cup Series. And Justin Haley, who has been part of that Cup Series organization effort for Kaulig Racing since they started Cup Racing, comes back for a 1-2 punch. And Mike, I think in a very short period of time, Xfinity Series aside, they have made inroads there at Kaulig Racing on the Cup Series side. And I think they've got a shot this year to get a couple of guys possibly in victory lane and grab some playoff spots.
Well, Matt Kaulig and Chris Rice are all in on A.J. Allmendinger. He has played a very important part in the racing organization. And while there have been other organizations that have had a lot of personnel rearrangement, Kaulig not as much, but they've had some, bringing A.J. back into full-time competition. Remember, that 16 car last year was a ride share with A.J., Noah Gragson, and Daniel Hemrick. So this year, AJ will have the reins of that 16 car the entire time. Justin Haley, AJ's son, as he calls him, will be in the 31. And then that part-time effort for Chandler Smith, who, again, part of the personnel changes, will come over to replace AJ on Saturday, but stick his toe in the water in the Cup Series, including the Daytona 500 1 week from tonight when he'll try to qualify as one of those open teams. I think Kaulig Racing will find their way to victory lane at least once this year. My goal is to, when A.J. Allmendinger's name comes up in conversation, that at some point he is recognized for his work on oval racetracks rather than just road courses. I think AJ is one of those drivers that has gotten hemmed in and pinned in to being one of those drivers that, well, we're going to a road course, AJ Allmendinger's the guy. I like to see his name pop up in conversation to perhaps maybe win on other tracks that go just left, not left and right. Time will tell. But I will be keeping a close eye on Kaulig Racing this year to see what kind of successes they have as they continue their involvement in the sport, with increased involvement, obviously, in the Cup Series, going to a 3-car operation on occasion.
I have them for a win as well, and obviously there are 6 road course races in the Cup Series, so A.J. Allmendinger will be among the favorites there, but I echo what you say, and for this team to have the sustainability, if they do get the win and make the playoffs, to go deep in the playoffs, they're going to have to be just as good on the oval track side of things, and I think for sure that's a goal. So number 10 coming into the preseason is Kaulig Racing, which takes us to number 9 and Roush Fenway Keselowski.
Chase Elliott is making up some ground, but he's not going to get there. Chris Buescher now working out of turn number 4. Chris Buescher scores the upset. He hooks the win in the Bass Pro Shops night race here at Bristol Motor Speedway.
That's how it sounded last fall. PRN with the call. It was at Bristol Motor Speedway a win for Chris Buescher. And the second half of last season, lots of improvement for Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing, including that Bristol win, a race that also saw Brad Keselowski lead a ton of laps. The second year of Keselowski's involvement with the team should create some better performance. Mike, I saw enough out of that team the second half of the year that I do feel there is a foundation to grow on to get better. And I think right now, when I look at the pecking order, I got them at number 9 in our preseason rankings.
They've got a lot of work to do, and the season is not off to the best start. Obviously, they didn't make the main event at the Clash. Now, last year when they came out of the box, they won the qualifying races and only won one race. So I think that they're good for at least that. I'm hoping things improve, and quite frankly, I would like to see Brad Keselowski back in victory lane at some point as well.
So would Brad Keselowski and his legion of fans out there, and we'll see if that 6-car can do that. So Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing comes in at number 9. We'll go to number 8, and it's the Legacy Motor Club.
Here they come, final time at the back straightaway. Eric Jones, Denny Hamlin off the end of the back straightaway. Hamlin's there. He looks slow, but he cannot make the move in 3.
Here comes Eric Jones all by himself off turn number 4. Denny Hamlin, one last shot won't be enough. And Eric Jones is a 2-time Southern 500 winner.
The MRN call from last Labor Day with Eric Jones picking up the checkered flag for the second time in his career in the Southern 500 for what was then known as Petty GMS, what is now known as Legacy Motor Club. And the question is, can this organization follow maybe the Trackhouse Racing blueprint of a year ago and take a giant step forward? You heard Eric Jones won the Southern 500. He's back in the 43 car this year. Noah Gragson comes off a stellar Xfinity Series campaign. He's in the 42 Chevrolet, replacing Ty Dillon. You throw Jimmy Johnson there as a part owner and a part driver. Mike, this team's going to be in the spotlight in 2023. The question is, will the performance take another step forward?
My question is, what kind of impact will Jimmy Johnson make as now co-owner, part-time driver, but major influencer? Can he guide Noah Gragson? Can he guide Eric Jones? And can they take that next step forward? A lot of change afoot over at Legacy Motor Club, name change included, but will that yield results? Time will tell. When you lay them up against others, and we'll get into this a little later on here. I don't know if that's going to happen this year, but at least they're moving forward.
I would not be surprised to see a win come out of that team. I'm not 100% sure I'm banking on it, and we'll see what kind of performance they take in a step forward here in 2023. So Legacy Motor Club, number 8. That takes us to number 7, and it's Stewart-Haas Racing.
Kevin Harvick, final time down the back chute, and he's lucky there's not one more lap to come.
Here comes Christopher Bell. It's down to 2 car lengths. A car length and a half now. Up off turn number 4. Checkered flag is in the air. Back-to-back wins. Kevin Harvick wins the Federated Auto Parts 400 at Richmond Raceway.
MRN call last August. Back-to-back wins there, as you heard Alex Hayden say, for Kevin Harvick. He had won at Michigan the week before, and he came back and won the next week at Richmond. But the dynamic is shifting at Stewart-Haas Racing. We know Kevin Harvick's going to end his full-time Cup career at season's end. Cole Custer goes over to the Xfinity Series. Ryan Preece takes over the 41 Ford. the team signed Chase Briscoe to a contract extension. He appears to be the anchor, and Eric Almirola changed his mind. He comes back instead of stepping away as another season of full-time driving in the number 10 ride. So I think when you look at this team, the story sure is going to be Harvick at the end of the year, but what will Ryan Preece do in the 41 car? Can Chase Briscoe get another win to go with his first career Cup win he got a year ago? And what about Eric Almirola? The 10 car sometimes shows speed, other times it's kind of out to lunch. I got a win maybe coming from this team, Mike, but this is going to be a year of change at Stewart-Haas Racing as they get ready for the future and a life beyond Kevin Harvick.
I think that perhaps this will be a year that Stewart-Haas Racing gets its ducks in a row, as it were. When they start to figure stuff out over there, the successes follow. They've got a year under their belts with the next-gen car, with Kevin's final year coming, Ryan Preece's first year coming, and I think that the possibilities are endless, and I think that Stewart-Haas will be in the mix at some point here in 2023.
So Stewart-Haas Racing, number 7 in our preseason Cup organization power rankings. It takes us to number 6 in 23XI Racing.
Here comes Bubba Wallace, final time off the end of the back straightaway. He'll take it to the wall as he works his way off the corner looking for the checkered flag.
Bubba Wallace can see it now. He can virtually coast it in. Checkered flag is in the air, and Bubba Wallace wins the Hollywood Casino 400 at Kansas.
Bubba Wallace, as you heard on the MRN call here on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio, taking his 23 Toyota to victory lane at Kansas last year. He is back in 2023. Also had a lot of controversy last year as well. Remember, he got suspended after intentionally crashing Kyle Larson at Las Vegas. Tyler Reddick comes over. He takes the number 45 Toyota as Kurt Busch is forced into retirement after his injury a year ago. So year 3 going to be very important to the growth and development of this team. I think bringing Reddick in will infuse a little new energy there, and I think with he and Bubba Wallace, they have opportunities, I think, in both cases, Bagman, to visit victory lane in 2023.
Well, the bar's been set. Both those cars won last year, and I think that's where you begin this year. The question is, how much winning will Tyler Reddick do in his new home? Will Tyler Reddick be a boom or a bust? That's to come. And the same goes with Bubba. But I do believe in its 3 years of existence, I think this racing season could be a pivotal year for 23XI. No question.
So that's the number 6 team in our preseason Cup organization power rankings. Let's go to the top 5. And coming in at number 5, it's Richard Childress Racing.
Number 5.
Tyler Reddick in tow off turn 4.
Trying to win to get into the playoffs. Here he comes up off turn 4. Last-ditch effort from Austin Cindric. Can't do it. Checkered flag in the air. Austin Dillon wins the Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona.
Well, the regular season ended in grand fashion for RCR, as you heard. Austin Dillon winning the last race of the regular season, racing his way into the playoffs. But the story for Richard Childress Racing in 2023 is the biggest free agent movement in recent NASCAR history. Kyle Busch moving from Joe Gibbs Racing to take the wheel of the RCR number 8 ride. That went to victory lane 3 times last year when Tyler Reddick was behind the wheel. He now pairs up for Austin Dillon. This team has already been in the spotlight, finishing 2nd, 3rd last Sunday at the Clash. And the question is, can Kyle Busch get back to his more regular winning ways, and can he help bring Richard Childress Racing another step forward to the prominence that this organization had for many, many years, Baggy?
Yes and yes, in my opinion. The question is, when will it begin? I believe that RCR will be under the microscope based on that big free agency move we saw, but I do expect the successes to come and come in this racing season. The question is, how many? But I do expect RCR to be back in the mix.
They are number 5, Richard Childress Racing.
Number 4.
Further back, Ross Chastain.
Chastain did a video game move, drove it and never lifted, put it against the safer barrier in turn 3, never lifted all the way around the turn, and Ross Chastain passes Denny Hamlin. Ross Chastain will get into the playoff.
I cannot believe what I just saw.
The number 4 team in our preseason power rankings, Trackhouse Racing, as you heard. The viral moment that Ross Chastain provided the sport last fall at Martinsville. Won't be able to do that again after NASCAR ruled against it, but I don't think you could rule against Ross Chastain. Getting back to victory lane this year, Daniel Suarez is back. He scored his first career Cup win in 2022. So the question for Trackhouse is, What do you do for an encore? Can they maintain what they did last year, Mike, and can they even take another step forward in 2023?
Old Jack Rusty Wallace Buck up there in the broadcast booth. None of us believed what we saw that day. I believe the bar's been set for Trackhouse as well. Both the cars won last year. Question is, how much can the cars win this year? I have them, both cars winning in 2023, because, again, that's where the bar is going. The bar is going up, 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 up over there at Trackhouse. Question is, how much of that winning can they do when we begin racing next Sunday?
Trackhouse Racing, number 4 in our preseason power rankings.
Number 3.
Off turn 4, white flag is in the air. Christopher Bell takes it. He sets sail for turns 1 and 2, trying to walk off.
For the second time in the last 4 weeks, Christopher Bell has been in a do-or-die situation. He is still alive. Final time into 3. Christopher Bell from the line.
He had to win, and he's going to win. Here comes Christopher Bell. He'll score the win.
You heard it again on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio, the MRN call. Joe Gibbs Racing comes in number 3, and last year it was Christopher Bell making his way through the playoffs in dramatic fashion all the way to the championship 4. Ty Gibbs takes over the ride vacated by Kyle Busch. C. Bell comes back in the 20 ride, and you've got veterans Denny Hamlin and a possibly resurgent Martin Truex Jr. after his Clash win on Sunday, rounding out the quartet. So there's a new look here. I think JGR's got an opportunity behind maybe Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, and even Martin Truex Jr. with a rookie and Ty Gibbs to get a few more wins, Mike, in 2023 than they did a year ago.
I have 3 of the 4 Gibbs cars winning. Question will be, will Ty Gibbs be one of those cars? Making the move over full-time, ran almost half the schedule last year. He's got his feet wet. But all eyes, I believe, will also be on Ty Gibbs and the impact he can make on JGR, replacing Kyle Busch. The 18 in dry dock, that number changed to 54 with now Ty Gibbs at the controls.
Joe Gibbs Racing is number 3 in the power rankings.
Number 2.
Kyle Larson with those Valvoline sails in the wind. Comes up the back straightaway for the final time. Not being challenged. He'll dial up the outside line up against the safer barrier. Looking for the checkered flag as Ty Dillon spins in 4.
Ty Dillon goes all the way down to the grass right in front of the race leader, Kyle Larson, who gets through the smoke. Checkered flag is in the air, and Kyle Larson wins the Dixie Vodka 400 at Homestead Miami Speedway.
The number 2 team in our preseason power rankings, Hendrick Motorsports, the perennial powerhouse led by 2 drivers who have won championships in the last 3 years, and Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson. William Byron looks to take the next step forward in his career, while Alex Bowman is back. He's healthy, and he has a new crew chief in Blake Harris. Again, you cannot discount Hendrick Motorsports any year, and I think in 2023 that those 4 drivers are going to be right there with wins and challenging for a championship.
Lots of hit and miss activity in 2022 for Hendrick Motorsports. When they nailed it, they nailed it. And when they tried to and sometimes didn't. And they whiffed sometimes. But then again, everybody did. But I do believe Hendrick is one of those organizations, Petey, where they're going to figure it out and the wins will follow. I have all 4 Hendrick cars winning this coming season. Question is, who will do the majority of it? Will that be spread equitably across all 4 cars? But I do believe Hendrick Motorsports will definitely be in the mix this year, without question.
Hendrick Motorsports number 2, which takes us to the top of the preseason mountain.
Number 1.
Here he comes, final time off the end of the back straightaway. Joey Logano is about to become a NASCAR Cup Series champion.
For the second time in his career, up off turn number 4, checkered flag in the air. Joey Logano wins the NASCAR Cup Series season finale race, and Joey Logano is the 2022 NASCAR Cup Series champion.
Team Penske, the team that won the championship the year prior, they are on top of the mountain coming into the new season. As you heard, Joey Logano, a 2-time championship title holder after what he did at Phoenix last year. He comes back to the 22 ride. Rookie of the Year Austin Cindric is back, who won the Daytona 500. And Ryan Blaney, who made the playoffs through the point system in 2022, returns. So nothing has changed with this team. They won the championship last year. They are the team everyone's trying to beat in 2023.
866.
That was this week's edition of Pistol Pete's Power Rankings. Now back to you, Bagman.
Pit Lane, thank you, darling. That is the organizational rankings for Pistol Pete. Do you agree with those? Interesting conversation to ensue as we are 1 week away for qualifying for the Daytona 500.